Gather round. It's time for your Real Estate Chalk Talk with the Hittner Group. Listen closely as your coaches discuss the culture, the economy, and the political scene, and how it affects your home and your real estate investments. Real Estate Chalk Talk is where you learn the science of buying and selling real estate and the art of living in your home. Your education begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey there, welcome to the program. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk with the Hittner Group, hittnergroup.com, Hittner Group, that's all one word, hittnergroup.com, 612-627-8000. That's 612-627-8000. Give us a ring-a-ling-a-ling. We'll be happy to have a chat with you about your real estate needs. Of course, that conversation with no cost and absolutely no obligation. Okay, inventory, kids. Active listings 6475 in the 7-county metropolitan area as of midweek this week. That's up 22% from the first of the year. And we are running about 900 listings short from pre-COVID 2019. So I'd say that we're doing pretty good. Mm-hmm. Seems to be hanging right about there. We're just
it doesn't move a lot week to week, is it?
It doesn't move a lot. We got new pending sales 1,000, so we went over 1,000 for the first time here. So last year it was 1,063. A high of last year was 1,063. I'm sorry, last year it was about 900. So we're kind of the same thing there. Days on market seem to be tweaking up a bit. Carver County is at 2.5 months now. Absorption rate. That's
how many days on market, Keith?
Days on market. The pended sales, it's 24 of the homes that sold. 24 days on market, but your absorption rate is 2.5 months. That's what you look at. So not if another house never came on the market, it'd take 2.5 months to sell everything that's here.
Okay. And what's a normal balanced market? About three months. 6
months is considered a balance. 5 to 6 is considered a balanced market. So technically, we're still in a seller's market, but I'm telling you, it's like Keith always says, it is hyper local about what is selling and what isn't selling. Because I have been looking up in the Rogers area. I have an agent that we know up there. We know well. Used to be a Coldwell Banker. Went off on his own deal. And beautifully prepared house, gorgeous house. Priced strongly, it's not a deal, but it's not like crazy high. And came on the market. We showed it. 2 days on the market. Called him. How you doing? Very confident. Oh, it's going to sell. It's going to sell. Great. Now it's a couple weeks later. He's calling me. Hey, people still interested?
Yeah, still around?
Are they still out there looking? And then we're looking at quite a bit of new construction out there. With a couple of the majors, and they're giving like real deals and price some significant price decreases in a couple of the developments that they're trying to get out of.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty doggone interesting, and that area was just on fire. So things are changing a little bit. People are able, from a buyer standpoint, they're able to make an offer. Mm-hmm. There's time in most cases, especially if you're above. If you could look up, Keith, maybe while we're talking, I'd like to know how many pending sales there are in properties. I don't know if you can get this, but how many properties of that 1,000 properties that pended this in the last 7 days? Mm-hmm. How many of them were over 500,000?
Oh, interesting.
And then how many were under 500,000?
Do you think the first-time home buyer house, the 300 and under, 250 and under, they're still going pretty good, right? That's
still blistering fast. We had one this week, a mutual client that wanted to go in on a contingent offer, has subsequently decided just to stay put in their house because there's no way that they can do it. And we go into this house and there's 8 offers on the house. It's like, and you go in contingent. There's just no, you haven't got a chance. So you have to overpay for the house. That's the only way you can incentivize it. Overpay for the house. Now, some of these, Lenara asked them about, would you take a contingent offer going back to these other couple? Right. Yes.
They would.
$15,000 non-refundable earnest money.
Okay.
That's what they want. $15,000 non-refundable.
Okay.
Now they know they got a buyer who's serious.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they'll give them time. They'll take it off, pull it from the market, so they won't bump them, though, because they have other ones to sell, so they'll remove it from the market. But they want to know when the closing date comes, you're closing.
Right.
And if you're not, we got $15,000 to compensate us for taking.
And then get it back on the market and sold to somebody else.
Yeah. So that seems to be not a bad strategy for those who are not looking at new construction.
Right.
Because there's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of people who just don't happen to have juniors money where they can go out and buy whatever they want and pay cash. So they're going to go and they're going to buy a property. They have to sell their house. They're going to roll the proceeds from their house in, and you can bridge loan and do all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But you still have to qualify. You have to qualify for the bridge. You got to qualify to carry your current mortgage, and then you got to qualify to carry the new mortgage. And if you don't have that income to be able to qualify for that, what are you going to do?
Well, we have the one program where they basically purchase a home, and so you don't qualify for both. However, everything's expensive.
Yeah.
Right. So just all lenders will, talk about these programs, but at the end of the day,
you're paying for them.
We all have them,
sure,
and they cost a couple points, 2 to 3 points. So now now you just stripped a lot of that equity.
And that's
the
other thing
too,
is
right?
that then they need every penny.
Right.
Everybody wants to get. Well, I want to make sure I get everything out of the house that I can. It's like.
And the max that these companies will go to is like 75% loan to value or 80% loan to value. So if you have somebody that doesn't have 20 to 30 to 40% equity,
there's not a lot there.
It's just hard.
Yeah, and it's going to cost you $10,000 to $20,000 more.
It's just not great. You know what I mean?
Your overall purchase is going to cost you basically $10,000 to $20,000 more depending on your price point. And so it makes it a lot more expensive. But if you want to get it done, there's a way to get it done.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you really want to, I always tell people if you really want to, we figure it out.
We can figure it out.
But just know that's not with no cost and no obligation. Right?
Yes. So our listing inventory is up about 1,000 so far. Listings taken in 25 over last year. Solds are they're down slightly. So more listings, fewer solds, which is another indication of a market cresting. And that's how it's a market cresting.
Cresting.
Yeah. So, markets, the lines, they go up, they go down. The stock market goes up, it goes down. Sometimes it goes down a little, sometimes it goes down a lot. I'm just talking about volume here, not necessarily pricing. I'm not talking about pricing because pricing is still going up because we still are less homes on the market than our historical norm. We would carry in the Twin Cities, when the Twin Cities were much smaller than they are now, we would carry 10,000, 12,000 homes on the market. Pretty normal. That's kind of a balanced market. 10,000, 12,000 homes on the market. You'd sell 10,000 of them. That was kind of the way it went. Now we've got more people, more homes, more volume, so you would expect more inventory. But we don't have the inventory, and that's supply and demand. That's an upward pressure on pricing, and then you still have the old argument of cost to replace. We're looking at I've got properties on the market right now that are just a couple of years old, and I look at that and based on because I've been in a lot of new construction in the last month, it would be $900,000 to build that house, and it's just a couple of years old. It's amazing to me, how much prices have gone up on the new construction side of things.
Are you still seeing some chatter with the tariffs, all that on new construction, or not?
Not so much.
Really?
Not so much. I think that was a nice thing for the news media to kind of talk about and to scare people with, so that they got clicks and views and all that. But not a lot. Ford came out yesterday and they announced that their cost for cars are going to go up $2,000. Well, they'd raise them $2,000 anyhow.
Right.
You know what I mean? And $2,000, and that's the big tariff impact. That's like nothing, especially when you consider most people don't actually buy the car. They're going to lease it or they're going to buy it on time and never pay it off. They'll get a new one and refinance out of it, and so it just doesn't seem that much. But there are some costs that are significant, and I wanted to just chat about this because it comes back to the government. You look at gas prices, for example. $3 a gallon or $2.88 a gallon. How much of that cost is taxes? It's over $1.
Is it?
Yeah.
I was going to say 80 cents.
It's over $1 is taxes on gas. So gas is actually pretty cheap if the government didn't step on it every gallon. And then we look at building permits. But I always have scratched my head over a building permit. Why would a building permit runs from $25,000 to $50,000 for a building permit? Why would that be? We'll talk more about it when we come back from break.
We'll be right back. Real Estate Chalk Talk. Log on to hittnergroup.com, HITTNER group.com. Give us a call, 612-627-8000. That number again is 612-627-8000. When we return, we'll have a little conversation about outdoor lighting. Right?
Correct.
Guy coming in, talk a little outdoor lighting, and we'll be right back.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk with the Hittner Group, hittnergroup.com, HITTNER Group. That's all one word, kids. HittnerGroup.com, 612-627-8000. That's 612-627-8000. Give us a ring-a-ling-a-ling. Be happy to have a chat with you about your real estate needs. Of course, that call is with no cost and very little obligation.
A lot of obligation.
All right.
Heavy.
Deshaun's in the studio.
Hey guys.
He installs septic systems.
Concrete guy.
Concrete guy?
Concrete guy.
All right. No. Nice and bright outdoor light. I love outdoor lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we went out to break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about some government regulation, and then Junior was looking up some stats for us.
Okay.
We'll hit that maybe in the third or fourth segment.
Okay. We
Just
hit
touch
it
on
fourth.
that.
Yep.
Okay. So, lighting. I love outdoor lighting.
Awesome.
Because when people drive down in a neighborhood at night, especially in the suburbs, a lot of suburbs do not have adequate street lighting.
Mm-hmm.
For a reason, I guess. I don't know. But the curvy streets and all that, and you come around a corner and you see a house at night lit up, base lighting, up on the house, and the yard is lit up on it. It just looks so doggone nice out there. And it's also, to me, a security thing.
Right.
So talk about, first of all, your business, and give us a little a background on your business, a little history of how you got into it, why you got into it, and what makes you different from your competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Deshaun Snowden, owner of Nice and Bright Outdoor Lighting. We're based out of West St. Paul, Minnesota. Started the business back in 2021, and it originally got started in lighting actually kind of as an entrepreneur. So I was working for a window cleaning company at the time, and the people would reach out and ask if we provided seasonal lighting services, Christmas lights, right, putting those up, taking them down, and I don't know if we did, so I went to my manager and asked if that's something we did, and we didn't. And so I saw an opportunity, and my manager let me take the reins on it, and so as an entrepreneur, I built that segment of the business, initially, and kind of ran with it, and I did everything wrong, everything wrong. I didn't make that company any money at all.
You tried, though, and you learned probably a lot from
I learned a lot,
yeah,
and not on my own dime.
Yeah, that's a great part.
Too.
That's a good part.
Yep, 100%. So that's kind of where I started in the world of lighting. And then it just grew from there. I started my business back in 2021, like I said, and it was just seasonal for a long time, doing the holiday lights. And then, about 2 years ago, we implemented permanent lighting as well as landscape lighting, into that as well. So permanent roof line lighting, where you can change the lights with your phone. You can edit them, change any colors, do designs like that. And then landscape lighting really built onto that as well, something we could do in the summertime, right? Yeah.
So when I owned the garden centers, there was we did a lot of outdoor lighting as part of landscaping, but it was a lot of high voltage.
Right.
So we're running, having electricians run lines out so we can plug stuff in.
Really?
We're putting in big floodlights. That was kind of the thing, and then it went to low voltage, lights where we're plugging transformers essentially into the same outlets. How has that technology now changed and bettered the use of it and the longevity of the lighting?
Well, when it started on high voltage, I mean, the history of landscape lighting, started all the way back in the time of the early 1920s, right? When they were replacing the original gas street lamps, right? And then mercury came about, and then eventually halogen, and now what we're seeing in the technology is LED, right? Okay. So with LED technology, we're able to use a lot less power to provide the same amount of lumens, the same light output, right, that we had seen in the past, and even more so. In fact, LEDs give us a lot of flexibility in what we're able to do with lighting, and not just the color temperature, but the color as a whole, right? And so we're seeing on the market today a lot of RGB technology, RGBW. Right.
What explain that?
What's that?
So red, green, blue, right?
Okay.
And so it's color changing. When I say RGB, it's just
right.
color changing. Having the flexibility to be able to do, red, white, and blue, for 4th of July, or maybe it's the holidays, and you want to do red and green, and you can create scenes in your yard, and you can choose zones and decide, we want to light all the path lights here in this area, but we want to dim down the up lights, right? Maybe around 8, 10 o'clock. So the technology now is just giving people a lot of, it's smart home, right, is where a lot of it's heading, is, being able to integrate that technology, those transformers with people's Alexa, Google Home, etc., right, and in the transformers too. That's where a lot of that hub is, to be able to have that technology.
So are you putting wiring down or not?
We are, yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
are?
Okay. 100%. So it's all hardwired. It's all still low voltage, no more than 15 volts on most systems.
Okay.
And
so really inexpensive to run.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you bury those like someone would bury it like an invisible fence line, where you just have a little cutter that cuts it in and you're right underneath there and scooting it all around?
Yep.
What's the longevity on that? I mean, how long do you expect that to last?
Well, you can expect most systems to last, say, if they're properly installed, 10 to 15 years.
Okay.
Right now, there's going to be maintenance that needs to be up. There's upkeep on these lighting systems. In
Sure.
fact, we do a lot of service work as well. People have existing landscape lighting systems. They purchased a new home, they moved in, and they're like, yeah, I got these lights, but half of them don't even work. Right? And it's because the past homeowner installed them once, said they're good, and just kind of left them as it is, and they didn't maintain them. Right? So if a properly maintained system can last a lifetime. Right, the duration of the home.
So a lot of the problem that we have in our climate, of course, is freeze, frost, cold, hot, the extremes of temperature, and that's what we found in ours, especially with the high voltage systems, the sockets that get wet and they fry up, and it wouldn't work. How does that impact your lighting, and how easy is it to replace a unit?
Well, there's different types of fixtures, right? So you have a drop-in fixture, right? And you have an integrated fixture. Those are kind of the two biggest differences between fixtures, and I'll explain. A drop-in fixture, you can take the top of that fixture off, and you can put in a new bulb, right? And it's typically got 2 O-rings to keep the moisture out, make sure that it's safe and safe from the elements. Whereas integrated fixtures, the light itself is built into the fixture, right? And so those do a much better job of heat dispersion, right? Being able to make sure that the fixture doesn't get overheated, right? Because when LEDs get overheated, that's what contributes significantly to their duration, to their lifespan, right? And how long they're able to last. So with integrated fixtures, which is what we sell to most of our homeowners, we have the opportunity to really enclose that LED, make it watertight, water sealed, and in cases when those fixtures need to be replaced, we replace the fixture as a whole. We don't
the whole fixture.
Yeah,
yes.
right. And that's where warranties come in from our manufacturers, our partners, et cetera, and we're able to take care of people that way.
Is typically the wiring then kind of a lifetime, or you have to come in, if you're maintaining systems, cut in new wires, and you just abandon the old wires if there's some issue, because you can have critters or something that are getting at those?
Yeah, service work is always fun, right?
It's like diagnosing an electrical issue. It can be a pain trying to figure out where that stuff is coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be a pain in the rear, and not only that, but you never know what you're going to find when you pull those wires up, right? And there's different connections. There's different types of connections, that have been used in the past. I mean, there's drum connections. There's dry fit connections, all sorts of different things. And so if moisture is able to get into that connection, oftentimes what happens with the wire is what's called wicking, right? Where that moisture then carries itself all the way back to the line and it corrodes the line. In cases when we see that, we have to replace the wire, right? So we'll pull it up, maybe all the way back to the transformer, whatever is needed, fully replace it so there's fresh copper, because anytime there's corrosion and wicking, the voltage that's moving through the line is going to be significantly less, right? And if you're not able to get 12 volts to a fixture, most fixtures are able to regulate it so that even if you get 8 volts or so to the fixture, you still get the same light output. But in cases when it's not, it's a wire issue.
Yeah, because you'll have loss of electricity through the line, and you just got to replace the whole thing.
That's right. Yep. And so what we do for our connections is we do heat shrink, right? So it's a watertight connection. You heat it up with a with a torch. Yeah, your mom's hair dryer.
Well, it's kind of like a hot hair dryer.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but it's really hot.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the decorative part of it then.
Yeah.
You see a lot of ridge lighting on homes like that, and then that becomes Christmas lighting, and that can be a permanent light situation. But on landscape lighting particularly, there's some lighting that you want to see, and some lighting see the source, and other lighting you don't want to see the source. Explain how you map that out, and then when you're doing a home, is there one transformer for the entire project, or do you have to have multiple sites, or what do you do with sidewalks? Can you go under driveways? How does all that work?
So, naturally the answer is it all depends.
Yes.
Right. Every house is different, every project is different, but where we always start when we want to design landscape lighting on a project is, of course, the homeowner's vision. We want to start with, what are they hoping to see, right? Do they want to be able to see the fixtures? Because there are very decorative fixtures, ornate fixtures that are beautiful, beautiful path lights that you can see them. It adds to the aesthetic of the home. There's a house in Minneapolis that's got these beautiful copper fixtures that have patinaed over time, and it's all part of the aesthetic of the house. In other circumstances, where we're doing maybe a little bit more ambiance lighting, right, where we're trying to create a scene, where it's not necessarily we want to be able to see the effect of the light, but we don't want to see the source, right? And in those cases, we'll do maybe some moonlighting, right? So that's becoming more popular in this day and age. You put a light fixture maybe 30, 40 feet high in a tree, in an oak, and it captures some of the branches on its way down. You put it at about 4,000 Kelvin, and it creates the effect that there's a full moon out, right?
A little yellow.
Right, little white, actually. Yeah, like the white moon.
Okay. Cool. We're going to head out to break here. Give us your contact information, website, that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find us at niceandbright.co. and email us at info@niceandbright.co.
Cool. We're going to head out to break. This is Real Estate Chalk Talk. Log on to hittnergroup.com, HITTNER group.com. There you can check your home value or search for properties all online at hittnergroup.com. Give us a call, 612-627-8000.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk with the Hittner Group, Keith and Keith. Hittner Group.
Hittner Group, that's good. I like that.
That's great. He's
Changing our name.
Keith and Kelvin. All right, and Deshaun.
Hello.
All right, we're in the studio. We're talking about lighting. I got a question about these permanent fixtures. You mentioned in the last segment that there is a house in Minnie that has these beautiful fixtures now, and I like those. I like that when the light is about 3-4 feet off the ground, 3 feet off the ground maybe, casting onto and marking the pathway and all that. The problem that I've seen with it, and I'm just asking you how you mount those, and you provide those fixtures as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Because sometimes they look great when they first go in, and after about 2 years, they're leaning towers of pizza, going all different directions, because frost and winter and all that stuff. So how are they secured? How are they mounted? Are they footed in there with footings, or do you just kind of stick them in, or how's that work?
Well, there's variations of different attachments that are available, but primarily it's a stake.
Okay.
Right, and so it's about a 6-inch stake. Goes about 6 inches in the ground. You hammer it in with a mallet. You make sure it's level, and then you bring the fixture in on top of that, and you just thread it. It was threaded, and then you screw the fixture right on top of it.
Okay.
So, and oftentimes, 2 or 3 years pass by, and they start to lean. They start to, go their different ways.
But easy enough to redo.
Uh-huh.
All right, except there's a wire in there, so when I start spinning it around, I'm gonna
pull the wire and
all that. So do you have to disconnect it then, or?
Well, what I always do is we turn the power on, make sure the light fixture is on, and then as I twist it out, I'm doing it slowly, making sure that the light is on as I'm going, and then keep going until you can get it. You want to pull it out initially so that you can see the stake and see the connection, right, where you can unthread it and pull it out from there. But I keep the light fixture on while I'm doing that, because if I'm twisting and all of a sudden the light turns off, well, I know that
too much twisting.
I've done something wrong.
Right. Too much twisting. Okay. Well, that answers that question, because even with our signs now, they used to come with a post hole digger and actually dig a hole for our post signs that went in the front yards. They don't anymore. They do the same thing. They pound a stake in the ground and then slip the post over the top of it. And that looks good the day they put it up, but it doesn't take long because it's all hanging up.
Cold as well.
Right.
Yeah, and the cold, when it's starting to lean like that. What are the different options then in terms of like corner lighting? Do you use different lights for up in the corners, and if you've got a combination system of rope lighting up at the top for Christmas and landscape lighting? Do you have timers? Do you have separate timers, or what? If I want a house that I want the whole thing like tricked out.
When you say corners, you talk about the corners of the house?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for ridgeline lighting, there's a lot of options, right? So there's the permanent roofline lighting that a lot of people call a strip light. However, there's also options as well for recessed soffit lights too, right? So that's a newer product that's recently been released and is now available in low voltage. Typically only high voltage, right? Electricians would be doing that.
Yeah.
Installing those recessed soffit lights. But that's actually something we can do as well, all right? And they all can tie right back to that transformer. And if you have the right smart transformer with the right technology, you then are able to control everything in your phone.
You can set timers. It comes on at such and such a time, and goes off, does the whole thing.
You can set schedules on top of the timers, right? So if you wanted 4th of July themed, Valentine's Day themed, or, maybe you want to help remember your anniversary, right? You got a certain color that goes on for, that day, right? You can set all those different schedules.
So when you come home, you're like, oh, no, anniversary.
Turn around, go get flowers.
Sun's trigger. Or Keith, when his daughter comes home, if the lights are off on the house,
the whole
she's
thing,
late.
Yeah.
She's
or the whole
late.
thing lights up.
It makes it easier to sneak in.
Yeah, you've missed curfew.
You've missed curfew.
So what's your preferred process then? And do you guys work around the entire metro area, or what? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we service the entire Twin Cities metro, and we'll even go into western Wisconsin as well, so Hudson, Somerset is, but we'll go about as far north as Andover, Anoka County, as far south as about Prior Lake, and then as far west as, I'd say, about Eden Prairie as well as Minnetonka, right? We'll service that area. And our general process is, give us a phone call, reach out to us, and then we will come out. We'll do a walkthrough with you. We'll put a design together, and then from that design, we'll create a proposal. We'll then present proposal and design to you. You can pick the fixtures you want, add things, take things out, and then from there, we'll start the process of the actual build.
I know a lot of exterior contractors, whether it's roofing or, driveway people, patios, things like that, they can do some remote bidding. Do you guys get involved in that at all? Like looking at Google Street, doing, aerial shots and giving people pricing that way if they're busy, or not really? You'd prefer to meet with them? What do you think?
I would prefer to meet with them, especially if it's going to be a large-scale system, right, for landscape lighting. However, if, someone was interested in a ballpark quote, so to speak, we can definitely hop on Google Maps, especially for things like seasonal holiday lights as well as permanent roofline lighting. A lot of that stuff, we've got so much experience that, homeowner can just give us their address. We're able to look it online, and we're able to give them a pretty solid quote. But generally speaking, we want to be able to visit them in home, show them the product, show them what they're getting. And I believe you'd asked me earlier what separates us from our competition. And, we just want to be able to make sure that the homeowner's getting exactly what they want, right? That they're going to be investing in their home. For me, and I believe that investment, it's worth our trip, our time to go out there, meet with them face to face, and talk to them about our process, talk to them about what to expect. And for us too, we want to make sure that we nail every detail of the installation, which means we need to be on site. We don't know where the power source is. If the power source needs to be added, we need to be able to talk about that too, right? So it's about more than just getting the price, right? It's about making sure that we're delivering the best possible product to our customers.
Yeah, and getting what they want for sure, and it's going to add some cost here, there, and you get better numbers too if you're on site as well. Calvin's got a question, but why don't you give your contact information, website right at this time?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can reach us at 612-315-9388, or online at niceandbright.co. Again, 612-315-9388 or niceandbright.co. Feel free to fill out a card and get a quote from us today.
So talk a little bit. You missed our first segment. It was a fantastic first segment, but you were doing some work already this morning. Tell us what you're doing and what are the fun jobs like when you get to a job and you go, God, I love this. This is super fun. You're this morning putting posts in or something for an outdoor thing. Talk about that.
Yeah, so something that's becoming pretty popular is outdoor bistro lights, cafe lights, right? So if you go to a restaurant, you're sitting out in the back patio, you've got those string lights that are running across. They have a small drop on them with a traditional Edison bulb. And so today we were installing a 13-foot post in someone's yard, right?
13-foot post, okay?
Yeah. Yep, so 1/8-inch thick, 4x4 steel post, freshly powder coated. And we were installing that because we just need a place to attach the lights to in their yard.
Okay.
Right, so generally, if we go to a house, they want to do bistro lights. Sure. We want to be able to attach maybe the house, a tree somewhere in the yard. But if we want to get the right design and the light in the right place, sometimes we have to add a post, right? So, and then as far as, the fun projects, I mean, it's always fun when we turn the lights on,
Yeah.
I've been outside plenty of times after installing color-changing lights, longer than the homeowner. I'm out there just like, playing with the effect.
Yeah.
Talk about the length of the runs. So Keith lives on acreage. I live on acreage, 1.5 acre lot with a pond, woods. And if I wanted to run lights back in my woods and just kind of get some moonlighting in the woods so you can at night you could kind of see beyond the pond, just a little mystery over there. That's low voltage lighting or direct current, DC current, right?
Yep.
So how long can that run be before you start the light at the end doesn't shine so bright?
Well, generally, with the right kind of wire, you can do runs up to about 200 feet.
Okay.
250 feet. You can go pretty far. You can go up to 300 feet even.
Right.
It's just that the voltage drop is going to be significant, right?
Right.
So you're going to need a thicker gauge wire. It's going to need to be buried really well, and then on top of that, you may not be able to add as many lights as you want.
Okay.
Right. So if we go 300 feet with an 8-2 wire, we may only be able to install 4 or 5 lights by the time we get there. Right, but if we're 200 feet, 100 feet, we were going upwards of 8, 16, 25 fixtures.
So then, on a case like that, if you're going to run more lights, you're going to add a second wire.
Yep. So there's multiple runs in certain circumstances as well, right? So because when it comes from the transformer, those runs all have that continuous voltage. So you might just have to do more home runs.
So for people listening right now, we've got about a minute left. What if I'm going to light my typical suburban home? And I want lights in the back, lights around the foundation, not the rope lighting, not the Christmas lighting, just landscape lighting. What kind of a budget should I have to do a decent job?
I would say if you want to be in somewhere in the ballpark, about $3,500 to $5,500, for a decent front yard setup. If you're doing a backyard setup with an outdoor patio, could be upwards of $6,500 to even as much as $25,000, right? So it ranges pretty significantly, and it all depends on the options people want to. If they want color, zoning, dimming, all those sorts of features are going to be included, and they're going to make the price jump significantly. If you want a simple system that just turns off and turns on at dusk and dawn, the price is going to be significantly less. And we have options as well. We have premium in premium products, so we have architectural fixtures to be able to help people's needs and their budget as well.
Okay.
What about solar?
We
we only have a minute left, but
no.
Not a lot of solar stuff going on. There's there.
Interior?
As far as interior is concerned, we do a little bit of under cabinet lighting, low voltage under cabinet lighting.
Some theater stuff maybe.
A little bit of theater stuff as well. A lot of the color changing technology can be included. So we just did a bid for a commercial property up in Arden Hills to add some dance floor lights that will
nice.
change colors.
Deshaun, thanks for coming in. Give us your contact information one more time before we head out to break here.
Absolutely. It's Nice and Bright Outdoor Lighting. You can find us at 612-315-9388 or niceandbright.co. Again, my name is Deshaun, and be more than happy to help.
Awesome. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
This is Real Estate Chalk Talk. We're going to head out to break. Give us a call at 612-627-8000. That number again is 612-627-8000. And as always, log on to our website, hittnergroup.com, HITTNER group.com. And we'll be right back.
But we're going to wrap.
Money in the bank.
Rates are good. Pretty exciting.
You know why? Why?
Free money. You understand what I'm saying?
Hey, welcome back to the most favored segment of the big program, the
Let's
money
go.
segment of the program. Calvin Kamick.
Ready.
What's going on? What's going on in the mortgage world?
Fed met.
Yeah, I was excited. I was
Huge.
nerding out this week.
Huge.
With the Fed meeting. I was
Huge
all excited. I
meeting.
even put it in my calendar. I was like, let's hop on, listen
You
to
want
the
to know
Fed
what
meeting.
happened?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
much.
Nothing.
Stock
Nothing.
market went up, though.
Yeah, it went up a little
did
bit.
go up.
Because they're like, oh, okay.
I know
Went
the
up a
stock
little bit.
market went up because my money manager called me.
Oh, did he?
He always calls when it goes up. He never calls when it goes down. But he calls when it goes up significantly. He's on the
Have
phone.
a
Hey,
positive
hey,
conversation.
did you see the market?
We're doing great here. We're almost to zero for the year.
Yeah.
Almost to zero. So, headlines this week, just as underwhelming as expected.
Yeah.
That was the headline for
Yeah.
the Fed meeting. So, no real change. Trump was pushing for a cut. Powell said no. They're just trying to manage the deal.
Yeah.
Unemployment was up a little bit. It's going to be up, everybody. Like I get so frustrated when we can't seem to think through anything, right? So if you're going through you're laying off hundreds of thousands of people in the government,
Federal workers, right?
Federal workers with the Doge, with all that, unemployment will go up, folks.
Mm-hmm.
And go up.
Yeah.
No mystery. Kind of like you were
Yep.
commenting earlier on my math skills.
Yeah.
Pretty easy math.
Pretty easy. It's
Yeah.
arithmetic. Not even math. It's arithmetic.
Arithmetic. Say it right.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a little bit of that right now. Rates are just steady. I listened this morning on the way. I'm like, okay, today I'm going to have a really powerful message.
Yeah.
And I listened to this whole segment, and it's all just chatter.
The
It's all like,
same
hey, look at
stuff,
this.
too.
Hey, we got a 200 moving 200 day moving average here. We're up against resistance. We're this. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Rates are in the mid, high sixes. Really, if you want it, high sixes for 30-year fixed money. That's all anybody cares about.
Yeah.
So that's where it is. And all this
that's
noise.
where it's been, and that's kind of where it's going to be for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, that's what we talked about at the beginning of the year, right? Everybody says sixes this year, so don't expect a 5 in front of it unless we do something special, like we were talking about, a 2-1 buy down or some unique program.
You think that there's going to be ARMs coming back into play again and becoming popular like they have been in the past?
We picked up an investor that has a couple 5 and a 7 year ARM that's pretty dang competitive. You're saving about just under a point off the rate. But for the majority, no. Because it's just not that attractive, and all these end investors know that's going to get turned right away, so they don't have the time to make their money back on it. So I don't think
it's going to get turned when the rates drop down.
Yeah, rates
to
drop
fixed
down.
Mortgage, the refinance wherever
servicing
is being done. And
is there a higher cost then to that ARM?
No, it's just about a point. So if you want a 5 or 7 year, you're going to be there for 2 years. Yeah, we could save a point. Maybe.
So why wouddn't you, instead of, I'm looking at a 2-1 buy down. Okay, so 2-1 buy down, you're back to your par rate in 3 years.
Let's say,
in the third year.
Yep, correct.
All right, so if you got a 5-year ARM, that's 1% below market for 5 years. Isn't that a better, if you run the numbers on, I know that this is arithmetic, you're probably going to get your calculator out. But isn't it better to do that?
It would be,
and because you're counting on refining anyhow.
What the nervousness people have is that there's that uncertainty, right? And they say for less than a point, right? For less than a point in savings on my rate, do I want to take the interest rate risk that in 5 years nothing did change and now my rate went up?
Well, it just goes up to the market.
Yeah, it goes up to where the market's at, right?
Well, they would have been at the market with a 2-1 buy down 2 years before.
But the market today versus what the market could possibly be then.
Right.
Maybe it's 8-9%.
Oh.
We're all worried it's going to be in a worse situation. Our payments are going to increase. If you're comfortable with the payment now, great. If there's a significant savings, like what does that point save you? Obviously, the higher loan you're taking out, the bigger savings you're getting. So that's the cost, right? The way that you're weighing. Is it $100 a month? Like, okay, well, $100 a month, not that big of a deal.
Right.
I'll just lock her up, and then I'll refi maybe in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Anyways.
See kind of where the rates go.
Yeah.
So that's some of the thought process around it. But if people are looking right now, I don't think rates are getting in the way any longer. I think where everyone is settled into the fact that their interest rate's going to have a 6 in front of it, most likely, and it is what it is. If you have banged up credit, you're going to be closer to 7 or flirt with, you're going to flirt with 7. If your credit's really good, all the stars have aligned, you're going to probably be closer to 6.625. Yeah, 6.5 in there. So that's where we're sitting, and it's okay. The market is busy, which is good, but we're seeing more expensive properties sit longer, from my experience. And I'm not a realtor, obviously, but it just seems that the people that we have in our pipeline right now that have larger homes to sell, the properties are sitting just a little bit longer than where in the past everything was moving. Didn't matter.
And I think you say interest rates don't have an impact. That's where interest rates have an impact.
On the bigger ones, maybe?
Sure, because the buyer is coming up out of their smaller home at 3% interest rate. So they've got 2 sticker shocks there. One is the price of the house, which is significant. That's going to add, at the same interest rate, it's going to add cost per month. And now you go from 3% to high 6.5, let's say. That's a heck of a, all of a sudden it's $1,500 a month more in their payment. And that's enough to give a lot of people pause and just ask the question where before it'd be, heck yes, honey, we can do that. Let's go.
Yeah,
now it's like,
rates are.
do we, the kids are going to be out of high school in 3 years. Do we really need to extend ourselves for that 3-year period to get into this house that in 4 or 5 years we're going to want to get back out of again?
Right. Yep. So there's some of that, and do you think things paused a little bit? It seems like things paused a little bit.
April definitely paused.
Okay, because it's not just us. So
no.
Thank God.
Yeah, showings are down. You can see showing requests are down, and we can run that through showing time to see what the showings requests were. But yeah, showings, sheer number of showings are down.
Right.
Significantly.
Good. So talk a little bit. We've got some time here. Talk about listings you have coming up, because I know you've had a great
Yeah, we've
last 2 weeks. You've had a great listing.
Pretty busy.
activity.
So we got a beautiful listing coming on the market in Bloomington. Not on the market yet. We're taking photos next week.
Okay.
Rambler, large, 4,000 plus square feet.
Wow.
Swimming pool in the backyard, backing up to a pond. Mature trees. Eagle's nest up in one of the trees that they watch every day.
Eagle's nest.
We have.
If you want a house with an eagle's nest,
absolutely.
Premium.
We have Wow One Day Painting is out there right now. Restaining. It's cedar siding, so we got Wow's out there, or maybe it's redwood. I don't know which, but they're staining it right now, so it'll be nice and fresh. Interior is all painted, carpet's all cleaned. It's just gorgeous
That's fun.
house. Another one coming on in Rosemont, 2-story, $650,000. That Bloomington house was $700,000, $650,000 coming on. Beautiful 2-story brick front, quiet neighborhood. Tree-lined streets, backing up to a nature area, walking paths. Gorgeous house. Gorgeous.
Tell the world about that Eagan 2-story, though.
Eagan 2-story, $775,000, built in 2018. Fantastic house. It looks like a builder's model. I went in there yesterday. I was looking around in the house, and it's like, I've been working a lot.
Did the homeowners know you were there?
No, I snuck in while they were gone. I was looking at, because I've been working a lot with pricing out new construction through all the majors. I've been in every major pricing out homes. It's like, man, if we repriced this house today, it'd be $900,000 easy.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
that's just how much it's gone up. And it looks like a new house. I mean, you walk in, it's jaw-dropping. It's so clean. So that house is on the market. That's in Eagan on... I forget the address right now.
I don't know. It's in Hillcrest neighborhood.
Hillcrest
just
neighborhood
off of,
in
Pilot
Eagan.
Knob and
$775,000.
Cliff Road.
5-bedroom, 4 bathrooms, 3-car heated garage. $775,000.
Good.
Got a nice flip house coming on the market
Yeah.
too. So if you're an investor looking to invest in a house, that one's in Minneapolis, just off of 42nd Street. And it is an old house, old Minneapolis neighborhood. That's going to be like $150,000. Come on the market, you flip it, turn it. So if you're an investor listing, that one's coming on the market. Give me a ring-a-ling-a-ling. It's 612-627-8000. Call us. We'll get you in there. Take a look at it. Needs rehabbing.
Yep, for sure.
It's definitely a rehab house.
$150K.
$150,000. Yep, and once it's all tricked out, new kitchen, new, all that stuff, it'll sell for about $350,000.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Really?
Got a good little gap there then. For
It's got some room. Yeah, but they're going to have to put some money into it. So
do some work.
You got to make sure that you've got the ability to do that, and then you can go with nice townhome in Farmington. We got though, 3-bedroom townhome in Farmington with a family room, big, 2-car garage and unit, nice. That one is $287,000, I think it is.
That one active on the market?
Yeah, it's on Willow, 44 Willow in Farmington.
Okay.
Yeah, nice place.
Good. Before we go out, Deshaun's in the studio. Give us a quick update again on what you do. This is the most popular segment of the show. So a lot of
most people are listening now.
Yeah, now everybody tunes in.
Deshaun, Nice and Bright Outdoor Lighting.
Yep, Nice and
Tell
Bright.
us what you do real quick.
Absolutely. Deshaun Snowden here, owner of Nice and Bright Outdoor
I got to ask
Lighting.
you a question. Are you any relation to the Snowden that was living in Russia for a while because of his...
Yeah, Uncle Ed was always a big tattletale growing up. So we all saw it coming a mile away. No one in the family was surprised whatsoever.
You got 20 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Nice and Bright Outdoor Lighting, everything outdoor lighting, anything from roof line, permanent lighting, seasonal holiday lights, as well as low voltage landscape lights. Call us for a free demo and estimate today at 612-315-9388 or visit our website, niceandbright.co. Again, 612-315-9388, niceandbright.co. Thanks so much.
Deshaun's coming out to the mansion, going to give me some pricing. I'm expecting a whale of a discount.
He's going to be in that $25,000 range.
Major discount.
Just know that.
Major discount.
Know that you got a whale over here. He loves to spend money.
Can't wait to visit.
Go ahead.
All right, HittnerGroup.com is our website. This is Real Estate Chalk Talk. We're going to head out for the week, and we'll see you next week. Give us a call. In the meantime, 612-627-8000. That number again, 612-627-8000, and we'll see you next week.